Bailee, Alice, how are you both?
All good, you?
Really good. Bailee?
Yeah, good.
You got this really nervous look about you, mate.
No, I'm not nervous, mate. More excited than nervous.
More excited than nervous. So like I said before we hit record, we are doing these series of videos to give people that are considering self-employed estate agency and equally considering the avenue an insight into the relationship. But also hope off the back of doing these recordings that if anyone felt like your story or your shares resonated, that you'd be at ease with the idea that they may reach out to you and pick your brains. We're completely transparent with that. We would invite anyone that's considering going on the self-employed journey to speak to any partner at the Avenue to get a flavour for what that relationship is like. So just first and foremost, how long have you been in partnership with us at the Avenue?
I think it's 4 months officially this month, isn't it? I think something like that.
I think that's about right. We're recording mid-March and your business went live mid-November, didn't it? Mid-end November.
Yeah, I think towards the end of November, I think. I mean, mind you, we didn't really kind of start public facing until probably December, but I think we officially launched in November.
Yeah. But just to qualify it for those that are listening in, you've been in partnership with us for about, let's call it 4 months. How long have you been in the world of estate agency?
So me, I pretty much kind of fell into estate agency straight out of college when I was 18, so 10 years this year in May, albeit did have a brief period out of the industry where I kind of, for full transparency, I guess, thought that the job or the industry wasn't quite for me. But yeah, 10 years this year.
And then decided to get back into it because you realised there was another way, and we'll get on to that. And obviously, so I'm recording this with both you and Alice, and not only are you partners in life, but obviously you're partners in business. And it's an interesting one how this came about, right? So when you and I first spoke, it wasn't necessarily an intention that Alice would be an integral part of your business. But as time has gone on, how did that formulate?
Well, to be honest, I think Alice was a driving force of me getting back up. We were speaking about kind of me getting back into the industry after a short period of time out. I kind of always wanted to do my own thing. And Alice was obviously a big part of that support and driving force for me to kind of make that jump. And then obviously when we initially met, I think when we was discussing more into my background, Alice's background, obviously, you made a few comments, I guess, regarding that it could be quite a good idea to have both of us in the business together. So yeah, with obviously with Alice's background, with a little bit being in estate agency, but mainly kind of marketing, social media, that side of things. Thought that it would be a good idea to do it together, and it certainly has transpired to be a good thing.
A great decision. I would say a brilliant one. So as for those listening in, that there are people out there. Me and Hayley are a couple that came together off the back of a estate agency. So we were a duo when we launched this business, and so I think there's a lot of husband, wife, male, female dynamics out there, relationship dynamics out there, where it's like, could this work if we work as a team? So what part do you play in the Bailee Alice dynamic?
So I've come on to do anything marketing, all things social media.
A little bit of is it a little bit more than that as well, though. I would say kind of a little bit of maybe not public facing, but behind the scenes, and another support network, another form of support to customers as well. But yeah, obviously heavily on the social side, really, marketing.
When we've been doing these types of calls from a coaching and a strategic business planning perspective, we joke about it, but I tend to do more of that with Alice, don't I? Because it's more your domain, it's more social media heavy, it's more direct mail, you're more the creative. Bailee will send me an example of a letter he's written and I've gone, give it to Alice. But that's the beautiful thing about the dynamic.
Yeah.
Because I think you're the yin to
In other words,
yang. Well, yeah. But you're the yin to yang. It works. It works really well. So been in agency 10 years this coming May. You partnered with us in November. As with all partners that join the Avenue, we go through that foundation week, that onboarding week. You guys, obviously, from your tone, people will recognise you're not from the Midlands, you're down in Essex. So you guys, as a family, came and spent the week with us in the Midlands, got lost, got a bit dizzy, possibly a nosebleed on the way. 10 years under your belt in the industry, what was your experience of that week? Because surely you went into that week thinking, I've done this for 10 years, what can I possibly get from a whole week?
To be honest with you, I mean, honestly saying, not just because, you know, we're talking to you or, you know, that we're on camera or anything like that, generally was probably the most, or the best week that I've had in my estate agency career, genuinely, in terms of being with like-minded people, very positive, forward thinking, and look, I'm a very open-minded person in terms of, you know, I always believe that you can, there's more to learn. I'm a big believer in you're a product of your environment, and yeah, very, very, we got a lot of information, we got a lot of value from that week. But for me, one of the biggest things was being around like-minded people in an environment where there's support, and I found it very, very motivating, and inspiring. Yeah.
Appreciate the share, thanks, mate. And Alice, from your point of view, because you were kind of brought into the fun, because I remember me and you had a conversation with Bailee, and I said to you, why don't like, if Alice works for herself from home, and you know, why don't you come up as a family and have a little bit of a holiday in the Peak District whilst you're here? And then Alice got here, and within 48 hours, she was like part of the process. So, what about you, Alice? What was that week like for you?
Yeah, I think it was really good. Obviously, I own my own business outside of this, so it was to be around people who think how I would think with my other business. I love that. I really love that, and I think it was a really motivating week in terms of like, okay, we know what we need to do now. We need to get on and do it.
And that's what I like about you two, is like whenever we do calls, if there is an implementation, I remember a couple of 3 weeks ago we did a call, and I know how you pair love a post-it note. And we took a photo. You had like this ream of post-it notes of things that you were going to implement. And then Alice, you messaged me. It was less than 24 hours later, and you were like, "Right, it's all done." I'm like, "Damn, there was a lot on that list, and you've just crushed that." And I think that's really important for people to understand, is that it's all well and good being in an environment where we will help people with the right tools, we'll help the motivation, we help with the mindset stuff, we help with all of that. But if you don't go away and deliver on it, then it's useless, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you're someone that's open-minded and appreciate that, you know, at the end of the day, you're open-minded and are going to be able to take on board advice and you know, and implement different ways to do things, then you're given, well, certainly from our experience so far, you're given everything that you possibly could need to succeed, and then it's just down to you to kind of hold yourself accountable and get it done.
Love that. Great share. What would you say then, moving forward, what would you say is the biggest gain that you've had from the partnership with the Avenue?
Well, I think from my point of view, look, obviously there's no hiding that there's various different self-employed models out there, and we looked at a few, and it wasn't until, you know, we had our very first call, and I remember I was actually sitting in the room we're in now, had that phone call, And straight after the call, I said to Alice straight away, yeah, let's do it. And prior to that, having calls with other people and, bigger companies, never got that feeling. Always got the feeling, with me, I'm either all in or all out. That's the person I am. And I guess I kept thinking to myself, not sure, don't know if I want to do it, don't know if I can do it. And I think upon review after our phone call, it wasn't any of that. It was actually just hadn't come up with the right, or hadn't found the right fit that my goals, my morals align with. And actually, look, it's a massive jump going from employed to self-employed, especially if you've got a family. It's a massive step. It's a gamble, I think to have that extra bit of accountability that you guys offer, that network that not just you, not just Jack, not just Holly, not just Ben, other people within the business, other partners, often speak to Henry, and I think having that environment, that family environment of, look, I met the other partners all of once or twice, some of them, but to have that environment where you can bounce ideas off of one another and get some support, even if people are 3 hours away, it is very, very different to what other models offer, in my opinion.
Great share. It's interesting because this is the third of this series of videos that I've recorded, and you, as well as the other two prior to you, have pretty much in one way or another said the same type of thing. And you can't really touch, it's culture, right? You and Henry did a share into the WhatsApp chat on Friday evening, and then when I jumped on and I saw the thread and I saw the conversation, I was like, this is why the avenue exists. Like, genuinely, to see the way you guys communicate and interact and support each other and everything else, I'm looking at that and going, this is the reason. This is it. I love to be a part of something bigger than myself. I want to be a part of a team, a togetherness, and like you say, 3 hours apart, but work together like you're in the same environment.
Yeah, and I think, in fairness, as I said, not just saying because you're on, but the value that I think you've helped provided us from the very start is invaluable. And I think as an industry, I know when I've looked, prior to this partnership, we were looking at different things. We were looking at other self-employed models. We were looking at just starting our own business from scratch. Not being a high street shopfront business, but a work from home hybrid model. And one thing that I kept saying to Alice, if we're to do that, I really want, I know what I'm doing within the industry, but I really need some form of accountability, some form of mentorship. And I found that very, very hard to find within our industry. Rightly or wrongly so, I found it very, very difficult to find that. And I think, with being a part of the avenue, it's more than just, a kind of a subscription or a way to minimize your overheads. If there's someone that generally wants to do their own thing, but have someone and have people there to provide some accountability and some mentoring, then I would definitely recommend them to contact you.
Appreciate that. And I just want to say, and I had to say this in the last recording I did as well, and I think Mark said it in the first one, you guys have not been paid to take part in this recording. All we did was say, would you mind doing an interview with us about your experience of partnering with us? So I just need people to know that we've not prompted you, we've not scripted it, we've not asked you to say certain things, but genuinely really appreciate you sharing that. So is there anything, we've talked about the value you've gained then from the partnership. Is there anything that's particularly stood out? And I'm talking more from the point of view of if you were talking to someone that was outside the business that is looking at the self-employed world of a state agency, is there anything that's particularly stood out that before partnering with us, you probably wouldn't have considered, but you now look at and go, that makes such a difference to me?
Well, I think, to be honest, one of the main reasons that we decided to partner with the Avenue was because we got the feeling that it wasn't just going to be kind of a, okay, look, we'll take your subscription. Best of luck. If it works out, it works out great.
Yeah,
if it doesn't, it doesn't. Whereas there's a lot of models out there that feel very much, it almost feels too easy to become a part of that business. So I guess for me, it was always the support network. I felt that would be in place, and I felt that the mentoring would be in place, like I just explained. But for me, I don't think I expected it to be as good as it has been so far, or as consistent. Even from kind of a helping with some self-reflection, not only to make the business succeed, but also to become better as not as a person, but that sounds a little bit cringy, but as a as a business person, as an agent, even for people that have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years, I still believe that having some form of support, accountability will only make you a better agent and better at what you do.
It's a really interesting share, and again, I really, really appreciate you being so, I guess, candid around it, because I know what you're like. You can be a bit guarded around certain things that you share. So you're being very open, and I really, really appreciate that. And I think there's a lot of what you've shared that, whether it's connected to the Avenue or not, I think people will listen to and go, I need to bear that in mind when I make my decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even if someone's out there thinking of getting into the self-employed world of a state agency, from my point, even if it's not with the Avenue, from what I've learned, would be choose a business where you're going to get that form of support and mentoring. Because for me, otherwise, there's always highs and lows in the world of a state agency. We all know that, and if it's just you're just left to your own. I can't imagine how much harder that would be.
I hear you. And from your point of view, Alice, obviously your background, social media and running your own separate business. What about for you? Is there anything that's particularly stood out? Because obviously you and I have done quite a bit together around social media and bits and pieces, ads and all that sort of stuff. But is there anything from your perspective, more from a business point of view? Because I think that's the other thing that we've got to bear in mind is that when you go self-employed as an agent or self-employed in any context, it's all well and good being really good at doing the thing, but you've then got to be really good at being able to build and manage the thing, right? So it's great if you're a good estate agent, but you need to be able to then run a business. So is there anything that you've taken away from kind of the relationship that we've had with you both over the last 4 months where you've gone, that actually is really, really useful?
Yeah. So obviously me and you bounce ideas off of each other back and forth, and I love that. But I think for me, doing the social media side, it was definitely the training you've given me on the ads, because prior to this, I had not a Scooby. Couldn't have even run an ad at all. And now I feel so much more confident in being able to run the ads for us, know when they're doing well, know when things need changing, know when maybe that's not quite working, that needs tweaking.
Cool. So learning that extra dynamic, and I suppose in many ways, knowing the type of mindset you've got, there'll probably be something that you'll integrate into your business off the back of that as well. I don't doubt if it's not already in flight. Cool. So why? I think you've sort of answered this. So it's hard to, I feel like I'm asking the same question in a different way. So if I am, I'm just going to park it. But like, why self-employed? You've already said, that freedom and to be able to do things in a way that maybe the mainstream don't do. Is there anything you would add to that?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. To be honest with you, as I said at the very start, I left the industry for a short period of time because I was fed up of him being employed. I think it took me a long time to probably realise that I needed to do my own thing, and I probably wasn't. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but maybe being employed was never quite right for me. I wanted something that was my own, and I appreciate obviously the avenue as a business isn't my own, but it's my own local business. And having that more sense of purpose, in my opinion, working my own hours, which, to me, a lot of people will talk about work-life balance. To me, the work-life balance for me is, being able to do what I want, when I want, wear what I want. You get where I'm coming from there. Don't go to appointments in a three-piece suit because someone tells me that's how I have to dress. Obviously I don't go to appointments in hoodies, by the way, but but yeah, for me, it's all of that. It's not about, oh, I only work X amount of hours per week. To me, that look, if I was busy, like I had 7 market appraisals in one day, I would be over the moon. To me, it's not a case of there being a work-life balance because I only want to work X amount of hours per day, but it's being able to do the school runs, being able to go to parents' evening like we've got this evening, being able to obviously I'm a big golfer, so being able to if I've got a spare couple of hours during the day where actually, do you know what, I've done all of the chasing I need to do, I've done some appointments, I've got a bit of a spare time, I can go and play golf, or I can go and do a bit of practice with that, or I can just chill out for a day, and that's my own time. And at the same time, I'm still able to provide a service to my clients. I'm still at the end of the phone. If I've got to answer the phone whilst I'm having some time with Alice, or if we want to go out for lunch or whatever that may be, to me, that was part and parcel of why I chose to go down the self-employed route. To have something of my own, and just
Freedom.
freedom. I can't honestly say, and this sounds really deep, but genuinely, I can't say how much happier I am as a person, and how much more content I am with my life, being self-employed. I know that sounds really deep, but genuinely,
Mate, it's deep, but it's so powerful because, like,
yeah.
it's for
Honestly, I used to, Alice would tell you on a Sunday evening, afternoon, I got to the point where I was dreading waking up in the morning to go to work, fed up of someone telling me, you need to be in work at this time and leave work at this time. Things don't need to be like that, in my opinion. And yeah, you can still earn. Obviously we're early on in our business, but certainly from the success we've had to date, it's clear that you can have flexibility, have some freedom, and still be able to earn good money, and most likely better money than what you ever will as an employee in a state agency.
I think what I want to add is a little bit of context for what your share there as well is for anyone that's listening. Like, the 2 people that are sat on screen with me right now are possibly 2 of the hardest working people I've ever met. So there is not a work shy bone in their bodies. So it's not about having the work-life balance so that, we can do bugger all for 23 hours of a typical day. Like, you 2 graft, you 2 are very, very switched on, very, you're not work shy. You're prepared to do what it takes. I think to contextualize it, you have just learned that within this environment, you can work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can get more bang for your buck out of every hour that you're spending at work now. And you've got more flexibility to the way you serve your clients. Like, we've had conversations through WhatsApp at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I don't doubt for a minute that if a client messaged you 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, you'd get back to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had people that have come to us because of how responsive I am, how they've sent me messages on a midweek at 9 o'clock, and I've replied to them, or they've sent me messages of a Saturday evening or a Sunday, and I've responded to them. You know, and for me, what is wrong with this industry is that is unexpected. That's my opinion. It's not hard to just respond to someone, but you know, if
It's not hard to stand out in our industry, is it? It's not hard to stand out.
No, so you know, yeah, it doesn't take a lot, and yeah, as I say, 100%. You know, we're both very, very hard working, but yeah, to me, it's not about, you know, I only work 20 hours a week or 30, 40 hours, whatever it may be. You know, I'll work every hour, and so would Alice if needed.
But that's the business you've already built. So that's the thing that I think is really important, is that it's very much you get out what you put in. You two have put a serious amount of groundwork into your business in the first few months, and now the momentum's really, really building. You've chosen to do it at pace. You know, a year from now, we could be sitting having a conversation where you are only working 20 hours a week on your avenue business because you've built something that runs itself. And why should anyone question that? Like, surely everyone wants to work towards that place where they have choice. I know it's certainly a big thing for me. The reason the avenue exists was so that by the time I turn 40, it's a long way off yet, but by the time I do, I can have choice over how, when, and where I spend my time. Yeah, it's only a couple of years, Bailee. You don't have to call your phone. But that was a big thing for me. I want to have choice over that time. I love working. I love working with you guys. I love the coaching. I love building the business. I love all that stuff. But I want to have choice over how, when, and where I do it.
Yeah.
What would you say then? Final question. What would you say is the number one thing if people are considering a brokerage, considering self-employed, considering this world of estate agency? What's the biggest consideration they need to make?
Go on. I'll let you go, and then I'll answer. See if we say similar. Put you on the spot now, haven't I?
Yeah, you have.
Come on.
Well, that was more a question directed towards like.
All right, I'll go first. For me, I would say, like anything, biggest aim isn't always the best, and to be honest, I'd go as far as saying it never is. So for me, I would say look at your options, speak to different people, find which company aligns best with how you want your business to run. You know, what your goals are, what your morals are. And as I said earlier on in the call, find a business, if it's not the avenue, that is going to provide you with that level of support, that environment to improve yourself. And yeah, certainly kind of for me, as I said, the support, the mentoring, that side of thing is one of the biggest. You know, I know what I'm doing when it comes to the job. You know, valuing property, bringing property to the market, selling property. You know, been in the industry for long enough, but when it comes to support around putting systems in place, improving the experience that your customers are having, if you're just left to your own devices, I think that will you'll struggle a lot more than having that environment around you. And I certainly think that for the highs and lows that this industry provides, I mean, obviously I'm in a fortunate position where me and Alice are in it together. But certainly if there's someone out there that's kind of looking to just do it on their own, the highs and lows that this industry brings on your own, without someone else that's your partner, without someone else that's helping with the mentoring, the accountability, the support, you know, I can't imagine how hard that would be.
Beat that, Alice.
Don't think I can. You summed it up pretty well.
Pretty comprehensive. There's I don't think there's many bases that Bailee left untouched there.
No, I think mine is as well. Like you said, the support network, but not just the support from the people who are going to be mentoring you, who are going to help you. It is the support that you get from other partners who are on board as well.
Yeah,
like that's a big thing, I think.
Yeah, I think like it's easy to think, oh, you know, like with the Avenue when we first started, you know, kind of in my local area, there aren't other partners that are on my doorstep, but that doesn't mean that the partners that aren't directly on my doorstep or neighbouring the area I operate in can't provide support. You know, they can. You know, and you know, even if obviously the you know, I don't know. I think a brand, people will always buy into people, but having a brand that is aligns with you will make it a lot easier to succeed, in my opinion. And also going on now, but and also just on top of that, you know, it's like other things. Like I'll be honest, like prior to us starting, you know, I knew about direct mail, I knew about, you know, other bits and pieces, but it's all of those. If you're open-minded, it's all of those other things. You know, when you launch I think you've said this many a times, James, but to have an omnipresence with your with what you've helped us with you know, meta ads and all of that sort of stuff. You know, look, we definitely would not have put in place if we'd have chose a different company to partner with, or if we'd have decided to do this completely off of our own with our own business rather than a self-employed model. So yeah.
Brilliant. Bailee, Alice, I love working with you pair. I've really enjoyed the last 4 months. I'm really going to enjoy the next however long. It's going to be years, I have no doubt. And I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on and share your thoughts. And at one point I thought, do you know what? Rather than Bailee being a self-employed agent that's in partnership with us, why doesn't he just come and be like a one-man recruitment band for us? No, genuinely, because, you know, it's testament, I suppose, because even if someone listening to this could go, oh, that's great, you know, James has staged this, he's prepared them, they've scripted it, they've planned it out.
Well, if anyone, sorry to interrupt you, but if anyone thinks that, you can find my details and anyone can contact me, and I'm more than happy to have a phone call, video call. If you're local, meet you in person and give you exactly my honest opinion of being in a partnership and the kind of support and mentoring that they can expect.
It's like a mic drop moment. Bailee, Alice, thank you so much. And until I probably speak to you in a minute, then thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.